This next test is impossible. Now you're thinking with portals. Perfect. Please move quickly to the chamber lock, as the effects of prolonged exposure to the button are not part of this test.
But hey, it's not just Nintendo pushing gaming outside of its comfort zone and trying to broaden the audience out beyond just the hardcore gamers that grew up with the hobby. There's a persistent myth that's grown up around the concept of making games more accessible, that it can only come at the expense of the experience in question. There's this idea that, by making something that anyone can play, you have to sacrifice a good chunk of what makes games so appealing, either at the level of challenge, or the depth or complexity of the mechanics, or even the story being told, as of course when people say that games should be accessible, they usually mean aimed at very young children or very old people. This is absolute bollocks, obviously. All of the most beloved experiences you had on the NES and the Mega Drive that you consider the greatest games of all time were specifically designed to appeal to quite young children. You just didn't see yourself that way when you were one. Regardless, it's entirely possible for that accessibility to lead specifically to new and different ways of play, that don't just level the playing field for new players, but also provide a fresh and interesting challenge to existing players. So it makes sense that here in 2007, with all this experimentation and reinvention flying around, that Valve decided to completely reimagine the first-person shooter as a narrative-driven puzzle platformer. Now, Gabe doesn't get all the credit for Portal.
Please email me at gaben@valvesoftware.com and let me know about your rampage. I'm not wearing underwear.
But he does get some. It's commonly known now that the core concept of playing with hole-based teleportation in this way was pioneered in a freeware game called Narbacular Drop, which was a student project from a bunch of kids at the DigiPen Institute of Technology. Man, I'm not American, so I don't know your hierarchies and prejudices when it comes to universities, but from the name and the badge, I feel like DigiPen is a party school, you know? I'm just saying. It feels like the MIT lads look down on these, you know?
We're going streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium. Come on, everybody! Woo! Come on! We're streaking! Come on!
But they made Portal, so, you know, fuck you, MIT. Valve saw the game and was so impressed that they employed the students to flesh it out and extend it into a full commercial game. You know, rather than just stealing the idea, because Valve are the closest thing we have to good guys in the gaming industry.
When we got here, we didn't have to make a lot of concessions, and we didn't change the game. Valve understood the game as well as we did. In fact, I'd say they understood it better than we did. The only changes were advice and that made sense to us. They really gave us a process to make this into a much better game than what Narbacular Drop was.
The result was Portal, which sits not only peripherally in the Half-Life fiction, but also in its game engine, which allowed for some lovely playtime with object physics, as well as the portals themselves. For those who aren't familiar, the big central selling point of Portal was this new idea of being able to move between two portals that you can place on any visible surface by shooting them there with a gun. Go in one, come out the other, whether it's on a wall, a floor, or a ceiling. Relatively simple at first when you're using it to get around walls and such, but then you're introduced to the concept that momentum is preserved as you pass through, raising the possibility of, for example, dropping from a height into one portal on the floor and then shooting at that speed out of the other portal that's been placed high on a wall in order to clear large jumps. Portal has been around for so long now that this might all sound terribly mundane, but I promise you this was very new and exciting enough that simply providing a bunch of puzzle rooms using these mechanics, getting more and more complex and multi-stage each time, would have been easily enough for this to go down as a well-regarded classic. But Valve went the extra step of giving it one of the most memorable stories in gaming too. Again, pretty much everyone knows about the big twist in Portal now, but we didn't when it was released. We were all pretty convinced that it was just a bunch of puzzles to enjoy. Even when GLaDOS starts lying and passively aggressively insulting you.
As part of an optional test protocol, we are pleased to present an amusing fact. The device is now more valuable than the organs and combined incomes of everyone in
Subject hometown, here.
We took it to just be a nice bit of character, a bit of colour to keep the puzzling from getting too dull.
Please note that we have added a consequence for failure. Any contact with the chamber floor will result in an unsatisfactory mark on your official testing record, followed by death. Good luck.
We didn't expect the game to present us with the dark reality that this was a prison in which GLaDOS was the evil warden, and then have us break through the facade of the puzzle facility itself and end up fighting her for your freedom. Still using portals, of course. There are no actual guns here, no real combat, outside of moving these turrets around to your advantage. And that is perhaps the final thing that helps make this feel so special. I remember how refreshing it was to have a relatively high-stakes action storyline play out in what essentially was a first-person shooter, but without any real shooting or direct combat. All of its puzzles, all of it is working stuff out, and it's so satisfying when you finally manage to think your way around these life-threatening situations.
What are you doing? Stop it. We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are very happy for your success.
It's this brand new way of playing something in a well-established genre that made the game more accessible. It's one of the few games that my wife considers one of her favourite of all time, so I suppose the point of all this is making games for everyone isn't just about waggling a remote around. It's really just about smart game design, however you control it.